What is it like to black out? Drugs, alcohol, medical issues, etc.? Waking up to the dread of 40+ notifications on your phone. Good lord. I remember this feeling of dread back in the day. I didn't even want to check my phone or social media. However, I've also woken up to job offers, dates, and great results from my blackouts from drinking in my 20s. I seem to get very confident and ambitious when I black out. Sometimes, it really worked out, but I don't suggest it. Random number. Hey bro, great to meet you last night. Can't wait to continue our conversation from last night. Great things on the horizon. Second random number. Better hope I don't see you around itch. 10 missed calls from GF. 3 texts. Where are you? Are you coming home? Don't wake me up when you come in. 3 more missed calls. Phone battery 2%. Video on. Video off. Video on again. I've passed out from heat, fatigue before, and it's basically this. The video does a fade to black transition and then it cuts to the next scene where you're on the ground. Is there a cool music transition? There's music, but it's polka. This is my mountain biking experience. Video on. Starting the Black Diamond run. Stupidly said last run. Video off. Video on. Cover in blood. Somehow back at my car with smashed helmet and bike. Everything is ouch. For me, who has, regrettably, blacked out drinking, it doesn't really feel like anything. You wake up having no memory of a certain chunk of the night before. It kinda sucks, because the only way you can know for certain what happened is to see a video, some pictures, but those are always embarrassing. This, specifically, is why I don't drink large quantities of alcohol anymore. People who don't black out can sometimes act like they don't believe you, too. My boyfriend, a bartender, has never blacked out, and it took him years to see how troubling it was when I did, because I would have zero memory of entire parties, but people wouldn't think I was even that drunk. Dude, it's such a weird feeling, and it's extremely anxiety-inducing, because you just wake up somewhere and you're immediately like, how the frick did I get here? And have to make sure you didn't make a complete fool of yourself in the process. Don't forget about wondering who you need to apologize to, and feeling like you can never leave your house again and need to change your name and number. And then your friends say, don't worry, you were fine. But the anxiety doesn't get better. You were still a functioning human, but no memory of what you said, did, how much of a burden you were, and that feels sickening. Blackout drunk is the only one I've experienced. One moment you are enjoying yourself, the next you are waking up with little memory of what occurred over the last few hours. You have to talk to others to stitch together what you do remember and try to work out what you did. Then you say, I did what? Once they respond, you say, oh my god. Friend brought over Carl's Jr. randomly the next day. I had to ask him why, as I don't like Carl's Jr. Apparently I was raving about how good Carl's Jr. is the night before. Reminds me of a roommate I used to have. He was the kind of guy that would go out once a week and come back straight goofy. Every time he'd come back, he'd ask me if we could go to Taco John's, and ask me to make the room stop spinning. After the first time I told him how he was when he came back, he was absolutely appalled that he had even thought about wanting Taco John's. I miss that guy. They have good detergents, not gonna lie. It's like falling asleep while still awake. Happened 3 days ago. This is it perfectly. When you are laying down and you don't realize you fell asleep until you wake up. Except when you wake up from a blackout, usually your first thought is, how did I get here? Then what was the last thing I remember? Then you hear from friends that you were hugging lampposts and being funny. You have no memories of this. People often confuse a blackout with passing out. Oh no, when you black out you are still physically awake, but your short-term memory is gone. If you are ever with someone and are worried they have blacked out, ask them a simple question you know that they can answer. Then wait a few minutes and ask them again. Wait a few minutes and ask them again. Then do it again and again. If they keep answering the question, they don't remember you have been asking it and they are blacked out. If they say, dude, you've already asked me this many times, they are not. That test of asking the same question is a really good idea. Can't believe I never thought of that. You did think of it, dude. Like 6 times. Whoa. Sometimes you spend $6 at a strip club and can't remember it the next take until you look at your credit card bill. Holy frick. I'm glad I am what I too much of a Scrooge to ever do that. Yep. Even when fricked up. I'm like, hi guys, if we carry out it's cheaper than paying for delivery. That becomes the longest fricking walk of your life even though it's only 5 blocks. A blackout is when your conscience goes into a witness protection program. Robin Williams. For those of you who don't know what that is, blacking out is when you drink so much that your brain goes to sleep, but your body gets all eye of the tiger and soldiers on John Mulaney. You ever drink so much you black out? Or as I like to call it, time travel. Dave Attell. Insomniac was such a freaking great show. I was never disappointed when I'd be up late channel surfing and Comedy Central had an Insomniac rerun on. I don't remember. No way. Same here. All this time I thought I was alone. Me too. Yeah, it usually takes me at least 3 days, at least 2 other people to piece together what happened, and sometimes even months later I'm still finding out things I did. Sometimes I was fun and people laughed. Sometimes I was annoying as frick. The last time, I knew my limit and asked to lay down, because I had enough, and apparently I ended up doing shots, then kept waking up and singing along to Phantom of the Opera at a Halloween birthday party. People I didn't even know were there were telling me how great of a drunk I was, and I was so confused, because I thought I held it together and was responsible. From John Mulaney. For those of you who don't know what that is, blacking out is when you drink so much that your brain goes to sleep, but your body gets all eye of the tiger and soldiers on. I'll tell you about blacking out. It was always weird when I'd go out for the night with like some money, and then black out and wake up with no money. It was even weirder, though, when I went out for the night with some money, black out, and wake up with more money, because that means that I earned money. That means that I traded goods or services, which is scary. Scary, but sometimes I'd almost be proud of it, you know? Like, wow, I turned $20 into $100. I am a financial wizard. Like, I would like to give people money advice now, but I don't know how that would go, you know? Like they would just be like, John, we're looking to get rich quick, and I'd be like, well, have you tried mixing daiquiris with Ambien? They're like, does that work? I'm like, it didn't not work. There have been a few times I've finished a night out with more money than I started with. Typically when everyone else is way more drunk and it's your turn to get the round, everybody gives you a 24B and tells you to keep the change. These days we just take it in turns paying for the whole round because of that. Itty and scary. You wake up not knowing how you got there. You try to remember the last thing you can and piece together what happened. You usually acted like a complete freaking AOL between then and waking up. Yep, I used to black out at my dealer's house a lot. I would wake up not knowing what happened. For me, I was never an AOL to people. It usually got taken advantage of. Sometimes I would wake up naked or just in my panties not knowing what he or his clients did to me. Jesus Christ. Women wake up in strange beds. Men wake up in jail. Source. Have woken up in jail. Men also wake up in strange beds. Source. Am male. Blacking out is like time traveling. Forward a bit and not fun. It can be fun sometimes. It's cool when everyone's recollection of a great night comes back slowly over separate fragments of stories from multiple people coming together to form the full picture, but can definitely have the opposite effect if the night was completed. Not fun. First off, you don't remember anything, so you can't enjoy it. Second, the other physical symptoms you experience like nausea and vomiting are unpleasant. Definitely not fun. I blacked out due to low blood pressure caused by chemo-induced anemia. I was standing in the bedroom, talking with my wife. She tells me it was as if someone hit my off switch mid-sentence and down I went. 911 was called, but I had somewhat recovered by the time they arrived. 2 units of whole blood later and I felt much better. After that, my next several chemo sessions included 1 or 2 units of blood as well until my red blood cell count stayed high enough that I no longer needed it. That sounds brutal. Glad you are okay. I blacked out during in-home hemodialysis a few times and a few times at the in-center. It's scary as frick, and a few times I thought I was dying. Basically my vision would start to get black from the sides inward and you can't stand up and your brain starts to go blank and your knees buckle under your weight if you're still standing. It freaked my wife out and I woke up completely disoriented each time and completely drained. I also have been under anesthesia a bunch of times. It's way different. It feels like the time you missed never happened. Your brain's inner clock doesn't log it, as if you were asleep. Spot on description. I've never been able to describe why going under anesthesia feels different than sleeping, but you put it perfectly. Scientists think that anesthesia scrambles the connections between different parts of your brain, so each little part is still functioning normally, but can't communicate with the other parts. Everything gets out of sync and basically nothing gets done. You can't form memories or anything like that, because the memory part of your brain isn't getting anything from the sensory parts. I think scientists also found out what happens to me every time I try to sit down and study. Someone told me that I should experience it. Reading comments, I'm not convinced. I've blacked out exactly once. It's not really necessary. It's exactly like being regular drunk, except you don't get to hold on to all the fun memories, and it's a little scary, because you don't remember how you got from your last memory to waking up. I've also never met anyone who acts differently in a fun way or has a better time when they transition between regular drunk and blackout drunk. They're either exactly the same, and no one knows they've blacked out, or they're sloppy and barely awake, so you need to babysit them. Being sober or drinking moderately is preferable. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button and leave a comment which story you liked the most. Subscribe and hit the bell notification for updates on our latest videos. And don't forget to check the links in the description box for more awesome content.